I called this out a while ago, and I'm glad that some people are starting to realize this. But basically, all of these protests, if you guys notice this, that it's just full of a bunch of old retards. Have y'all seen this before? Protests full of old retards.
Hi folks, sorry for the strange setup, but I'm obviously travelling at the moment. Sorry for the echo in here. It's not my choice and there's nothing I can do about it. But I wanted to talk about the No Kings protests that happened a couple of days in America.
Geez.
Because these were just boomer-tastic, and the whole thing seems to have gone off without a hitch and was genuinely quite funny to watch. So we're told by the BBC that millions turned out for the anti-Trump No Kings protest. Now, you may have seen people saying, well, they were using recycled footage from
They should have turned up to vote.
2017, which they probably were. But I suspect these were quite large protests because this is, as far as I can tell, the hippies of the 60s coming out to whine about things that
these are the hippies that complained about things in the 60s. This is their one final act of defiance. This is the final gift that they give to us. Complaining in the streets about Donald Trump. That's it.
Folks simply
the
don't
last
really
push,
care about
their last
them
dance,
and their radicalized grandchildren.
Well, literally, they're
are the
dancing.
only people who care about this.
Yes,
and so this genuinely amused me. But as the BBC says, huge crowds took part in the No Kings protests against President Donald Trump's policies in cities in the U.S. On Saturday, including New York, Washington D.C., Chicago, Miami, and Los Angeles.
No, this problem's not going to exist. It won't exist in 10 years because they all be dead, right? I mean, like just in 10, 15 years, they're going to be dead. So this it's going to go away. But the problem is that my generation, the millennials, are going to grow up and be as insufferable and annoying as the boomers. So the millennials will replace the boomers in being this insufferable, annoying group of people. It's going to happen.
So yeah, major left-wing strongholds. Duh. Thousands packed New York City's iconic Times Square and streets all around, with people holding signs with slogans like "Democracy, not monarchy," and "The Constitution is not optional." But what are you talking about? Trump is constantly engaged in a legal back and forth with the judges in the United States who are contesting his abilities as weighed up by the Constitution. In fact, some might say it's becoming a bit of a problem because it is presenting legal challenges where there ought not to be legal challenges. And in fact, many of the things that they're complaining about, such as the overturning of Roe versus Wade, were not Trump's decision. They were the Supreme Court decision.
Right.
A body that is outside of his power and constantly
Well, I mean,
makes
to be fair, I mean, the Trump did appoint the people that made that decision. I mean, so like it's partially true, it's partially not true. I think the reason why, the big reason why I think that it's a lot of old people is because old people still believe mainstream media. Like a lot of normal people have moved past mainstream media, but old people, you've got to remember that a lot of scams and things like that, they intentionally target old people because they're dumb. They're dumb. They don't understand technology. They don't understand the current world. They're 70 years old. They understood things 50 years ago. That was a long time ago. Now they don't get it. And so they get scammed constantly. That's just how it is. And so they're sitting there, and they're the ones that are keeping mainstream media on life support. And when they're gone, mainstream media goes away too. Because they're not bringing in a new audience of people. They're just doubling down on farming boomers. They lived in World War II in Nazi times? No, they did not. They lived after that. The baby boom was after World War II. None of these people lived through World War II. Absolutely not.
Decisions against him, in fact.
They lived in one of the most economically prosperous times in the entire history of humankind, and especially inside of America.
So this whole thing is just really funny because nobody is saying that Trump is a king other than a very, very, very marginal fringe on the right.
Well, just to make him upset.
I don't know
that's
whether
the reason why.
This is something that's self-evident from the name or something.
Yeah.
But the Republican Party is not a party of monarchy, actually. And Donald Trump is just showing that you can be an effective right-wing or Republican executor and not a king. And this would be even more silly if Donald Trump was acting beyond his own democratic remit. But I don't know whether you remember, he won the House, the Senate, the popular vote, and the presidency.
Yeah, let's protest because we lost the vote. Yeah, too bad, huh?
The last election. So to argue that somehow Trump doesn't have a democratic remit for all of this would require you to explain why winning all those votes didn't matter.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's return to the BBC article, because like I said,
it's embarrassing.
This is funny. This is just boomer delusion. Several U.S. states had mobilized
and boomers read the BBC. Like, young people don't read this garbage. But these old people do. And they believe anything that they see on social media. They're the ones that are typing amen whenever Jesus is transformed into a shrimp and he saved somebody's life from getting hit by a car.
Guard.
That's
but
them.
Organizers said the events, which drew nearly 7 million people, were peaceful. I'm sure they were peaceful.
Yeah,
Old
one like equals one pray.
Peaceful.
This is what they do.
Old people tend not to be a violent demographic. And a bunch of old boomers standing around with their stupid signs saying no kings or we don't want this.
Yeah.
Well, too bad. Everyone else voted for it. This is what you get.
Yep.
Trump isn't fabricating powers out of nothing.
I think that there's also like a much larger generational problem where a lot of the people in the baby boomer like kind of demographic are not really relinquishing power and giving it up to the next generation. And I think that that's created a lot of resentment for young people, because as young people want to move up inside of the workplace and take a certain amount of control of society because they've been part of it for a long enough period of time, they're not really given the ability to do that. And I think that makes a lot of them very angry. It makes them very frustrated and angry.
And there are genuine problems in these
There's a lot
Democrat-run
of
cities
resentment for it.
that need solution.
And it goes down to something as simple as like, how many times have you heard, young people complaining about boomers buying houses for like $20,000 and then telling you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and, go into the company that you want to work for and hand the manager your resume in person, right? Like, it's just people that are giving advice for something that didn't work 20 years ago.
So why shouldn't Trump be able to do the things that he's doing?
Yeah.
And the answer is just literally, we don't like it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it boils down to. We don't like it because we're liberal boomers from the 1960s. And as far as we're concerned, history ended 50 years ago. And we haven't caught up to the fact that actually things are still going. In an interview with Fox News, set to air on Sunday, Trump appeared to address the rallies. A king? This is not an act. They're referring to me as a king. I'm not a king. Yeah, I imagine that he thinks that if he was a king, he wouldn't have so much institutional resistance. Because, take, for example, the example of Britain. We've got a long and complex
We should have age maximums for political jobs. No, I don't think we should have age maximums. Like, you don't have to have everything mandated. But I think that you do have a cultural problem when certain things don't happen. And the problem is that you can't solve everything with a law. There's a lot of things that you can solve with laws, but you can't solve everything.
With monarchy and the legal and political institutions of the country. But technically, it's the Crown Courts. Technically, it's the Royal Navy, the Royal Army, the Royal Air Force. Yeah. Technically, it is the King in Parliament that sits and governs over us. So technically, if you're a king, all authority actually flows from the king.
Exactly.
And theoretically, the king is, as the source of authority of the institutions of the country, can override them if he wishes. Now, of course, there's a long conversation and series of arguments to be made about that, because, of course, we in Britain have a complex history with that. But the point being, there's just nothing about Trump that screams king, actually. To be honest,
they're just mad that he's doing things that they don't like. It's really just that simple. And they want to go out there. And the thing is, that's the reason why they call it fascist. They say he's being a king or something like a dictator. The reason why is because that is a way that they can radicalize people against them. It's not about whether it's true or not. It's about whether it will upset people into being afraid of him and not liking him. That's the focus.
He more screams.
That's what it's about.
Just European
a king went to court. Exactly.
Kind of like Orban or someone like that. Again, not a dictator, not a king. Someone who's elected, been out of office, and elected again. In fact, Trump's arc is kind of mirroring Orban's quite weirdly in this way. Just a strong...
Do that to any opponent? Yeah, exactly.
Politician. Just
clickbait engagement.
Obviously. So this hysteria just looks absurd. Like, from outside of America, these people seem bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Beth Zaslov, a freelance writer and editor, can you believe it, said she had joined the New York protest because she feels outraged and distressed at a move toward...
Every single person, except for probably this person that's dyed their hair, has gray hair. Gray hair, gray hair, gray hair, gray hair, gray hair, gray hair, probably dyed hair. This is it.
Towards fascism and authoritarian government happening under the Trump administration. I care a lot about New York City. It gives me hope to be out here with many other people. Well, I mean, what's your plan? You got another, 3 years of Donald Trump? That's just him going to be doing stuff.
Yeah.
No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here. Thank you, Miss Zaslov. And I'm going to guess that it's Miss. But again, look at it. It's all of the greybeards, the liberal greybeards, who have come out and been like, oh no, wait, this wasn't the America I expected in the 1960s. I was listening to John Lennon's Imagine. Fuck John Lennon's Imagine. Fuck your opinions on it. Massimo Mascoli, a 68-year-old retired engineer and resident of New Jersey who grew up in Italy.
Bro, they're going to be busting retirement homes out to these protests just so they can fuck up our lives a little bit longer. Just so they can fuck it up and make it worse for 3 more years.
Oh, said God. He was protesting because he was concerned the US was following the same path that his home country did in the last century. Mm-hmm. Trump is way more effective than Mussolini. Although I bet the trains probably don't run on time. He said he was worried about the Trump administration's immigration crackdown and healthcare cuts for millions of Americans.
Why?
You know, the real problem with Mussolini. Too many immigrants. We're gonna seal the borders and kick them all out. Yeah, that was the problem with Mussolini's
With
Italy.
NGOs being shut down, they can't afford to bus them out? Yeah, I guess so, right?
We cannot count on the Supreme Court. We cannot count on the government, he told the BBC. We cannot count on the Congress. Well, that's because they all Republican majority through democratic means.
So let me get this straight. We can't use democratic means anymore. So we got outvoted, so we're going to protest against a king. Well, wait a minute. That's the only way that you would be in order for you to get what you'd want, you'd effectively need a king. You see how you want the opposite, actually. And again, once you understand, this is a big issue that a lot of people have, is that they engage individuals like this as if they're behaving in good faith. These people are not complaining about the secret police. They want to be the secret police. That's why they had COVID. These people are not complaining about censorship. They want to do the censorship. That's why they banned right-wing opinions and Donald Trump during 2021. These people are not complaining about no kings. They're complaining about not being the king. These people are not complaining about democracy. They're complaining about losing the vote. So these people are not complaining about defund the police. You don't want to defund the police. You want to be the police. You want to make the decisions yourself. So once you reframe a lot of these arguments in the way that they're truly intended based off of what these people are actually asking for in their own mind, you'll realize that they're not really principled at all. These people just simply want the reins to power, and they're upset that you have them and not them. That's the main issue. That's the problem. They had no problem saying Russia rigged the election when 2016 happened, and they'll say the next election is rigged too. There are people saying that Kamala Harris, the election was rigged. It's all for power. There is no principle to this whatsoever.
But it's not like the Republicans couped the United States or anything. People just kept voting for them to take over various arms of government. Yep. And suddenly the Republicans are basically in control of everything. And all they can do is go like, oh, well...
Yeah, they don't want to protest these things. They want to have these things for themselves.
I guess we have the legislative, executive, and judiciary that are all against the American people right now. What are you talking about? The American people voted for this. Mm-hmm. They're getting what they voted for. I mean, a miracle, frankly, in modern times. I would love a democracy that was actually capable of putting a government in place in Britain that would allow us to get what we voted for. That would be an incredible miracle.
Too bad.
And I can't even imagine how great that would be. One protester at the rally in the Capitol held up a sign that read, "I am Antifa. Chuck Epi, 76.
I love how these people think that the disgusting. These people make me look clean. Like, you look at these Antifa protesters, oh my God. It's like these people live on, it's like they live under a bridge. You bring out basically a collection of ogres, swamp hags, and orcs to go out and protest against protest for illegal migration. Mordor lives matter. What the fuck is this? It's insane. And you have these people doing this, and guess what? Nobody likes them. Swamp hags, well, that's what they are. Really?
Protest. Said it was a loaded term and just meant he supported peace, daycare, livable wage, healthcare.
It's a loaded
I think there
term.
might be slightly more to Antifa than I want good things. I think it might be slightly more than that, which is why there are a bunch of violent insurrectionists. CNN also had an amazing article, Millions Rally Against Trump at No Kings Protests, and the organizers explain why. Oh, it was organized. Right, okay, it wasn't just this organic thing that sprang up out of nowhere.
Wow.
Of course it was. Which means someone must have been funding it, which is interesting. I love
who was doing that?
To celebrate her 70th birthday. Retired government worker Peggy Cole. So she and a friend...
Retired government workers. Oh, God. Here we go.
Nearly 10 hours from her hometown in Flint, Michigan.
10
to join
hours.
a protest in Washington, D.C. She felt compelled
Did they even figure out their whole water situation over there, or is it still poison?
mark the milestone at the large demonstration because it's a scary time for Americans, and democracy is at stake.
Democracy is at stake. Yes, democracy is a problem when you lose the vote. It's still poisoned? Okay. So let me get this straight. This retarded old bitch drove over, and this is what I was saying, displaced bored swamp hags that should be selling mushrooms in a forest to random adventurers have now been given computers, government jobs, cars, and most importantly, and the worst of all, they've been given the internet. And we have been overrun by displaced, disaffected, bored swamp hags that are ruining our lives. That's it. That's the big problem. And they're orc minions.
Why? Like, everyone just keeps getting elected to things. And you're like, you know what? This is more what democracy was supposed to be. Democracy is when I get what I voted for, not when the other guy gets what he voted for.
Yeah.
It seems to me that Trump is taking our government, our democracy, and dismantling it piece by piece, slowly but surely. If we don't sit by and if we sit by and don't do anything about it,
surely you're doing something about it.
What are you talking about? Like, seriously, in a couple of years, there'll be another election, and a new government will be formed. Like, it's just going to carry on.
Yep.
Your local elections will carry on. Your state elections will carry on. Your elections for the police, the judges, whoever else you vote for. Americans do so much voting. That's all going to continue.
We love voting.
I don't know what you're talking about. So CNN tell us that the Trump administration and GOP officials have painted anti-Trump protests as the work of violent left-wing radicals, but the organization behind the No Kings events, the Indivisible Project, says it's committed to non-violent action. Should we look at who they are?
To be fair, I think that the No Kings protest was primarily non-violent. It's because these people can't be violent. They can barely even get around to begin with. They're all fucking 70 years old.
Folks. So they say they're a progressive grassroots movement of millions of activists across every state.
If they could, they'd be starting trouble.
Between thousands of local autonomous indivisible groups and national staff. Well, who's funding them? I bet it's going to be Act Blue, isn't it? I bet it's going to turn out to be Act Blue that's funding this. I bet a huge amount of Soros money has been poured into this, hasn't it? I don't have time to look it up, but I bet I'm right. Feel free to have a dig around, folks, because apparently Indivisible Project, which is a 501c4, I believe that is a non-profit, means that you're going to be able to actually find who the funders of this are. It's going to be the Democrats. It's going to be that way. It's not a grassroots movement like they claim, obviously. One thing that gets me about this whole thing is that it's genuinely clownish. Like, they turn up in like frog costumes, lobster costumes, and other stupid...
No shellfish kings. And it's some stupid fucking... Jesus Christ. I mean, it is kind of funny. To be fair, it is kind of funny. But this is just fucking sad, guys. It really is just fucking sad. Reddit revolutionaries, bro. Like, there it is. How do you think that much do you think they paid for the costumes? Probably a lot.
Like things with their silly signs, and it's like, look, there's
Warning
an eagle
signs
one,
of
there's a shark
fascism.
one. It's like, what are you guys doing? Like this.
Well, the implication is that this is the reason why they're doing it, is that they think that by dressing up like they're from Chuck E. Cheese, that they will make it look like the police are worse for doing bad things to them. When, I mean, if you want me to be honest, like, whenever they tackle one of the people in those mascot things, I think it's so funny. I do. It's just funny to watch it happen, right? It's the same as whenever a mascot does something on like a sports, in like a sports field. They'll like, eat somebody or something like that. It's just funny to watch somebody in a banana suit get tackled. Like, I'm sorry. Doesn't matter what side they're on. It's just funny to watch.
The fact that you act in such a frivolous manner regarding your protest makes me think that, frankly, to you,
Queens
it's not
only, no kings. Oh, God. Do you remember what I said? Displaced swamp hags.
not serious. Right? If you can turn up and make jokes about the protest that you're currently engaged in, I don't think you're genuinely in the fear of losing democracy. I think this is just a boomer day out for them to have a good time and to go and go, yeah, aren't we good people? We resisted fascism. How? Well, I was wearing a fucking lobster costume like a prat.
Yeah.
And I waved a little banner that had a crossed out crown on it because Donald Trump, famous for wearing crowns, you see. Obviously, a bunch of like woke lefty Hollywood types came out. Pedro Pascal, Katie Washington, and others attended.
Oh, yeah.
And they went and complained. They were like, defend democracy so people can keep electing people like Donald Trump.
I love how these people, especially Hollywood actors that try to talk about democracy while they try to wield their influence as, you know, these like super wealthy elites inside of the country in order to direct people to vote in the way that they want them to. But then whenever it doesn't work, despite their best efforts, they're trying to complain about democracy. You were actively trying to subvert democracy by advocating for people and using your position that has nothing to do with politics in order to influence democracy. But when it doesn't work, now democracy is at risk. It's just, again, that's what I said before. These people don't want to, they're not mad that Trump is getting rid of democracy. They're mad that they're not getting rid of democracy. They're the ones that want to get rid of democracy.
Obviously, Nancy Pelosi came out and broke a crown because that's so brave.
Going to tear up the crown.
Back to the swamp. You know, maybe Trump shouldn't drain the swamp after all, because I feel like ever since he started saying that, I started seeing this issue. Yes, another one right here. Bro, even the swamp don't want her? Yeah, exactly. I'm telling you, she's so old. Yeah. It's just awful, man. It really is awful. You're listening to a Redcoat's opinion on democracy? Do you know they still have a monarchy? Listen, you got to understand something, okay? We don't have democracy. We have a representative. We have a democratic republic, okay? This is a republic. It's not fucking democracy. And if you look at, by the way, I can find this here. Take a look at this. I don't know if I can find some more of these here. I don't know where it is exactly. But, no, I'm not able to find the image I was going to show. But there's a lot of images and a lot of quotes from the Founding Fathers talking about how democracy can be a big problem. It's a constitutional republic. Yes, there you go. Democracy is a city as Greece? Yeah. Do you think it's the British again? Maybe, I don't know.
How many decades has Nancy Pelosi been in office?
Like 60.
For longer than most kings 37. In history. Right.
So let me get this. Yeah. So let me get this straight. So this woman has had a longer tenure than a king, and she's complaining about kings. That's crazy. Really? Like, I mean, think about it.
Pelosi has been such a fixture, and she's wealthier than most kings in history were as well. And
So she's been in power for longer than a king. She has more money than a king, but she hates kings. We gotta send him back to the swamp, bro. Like, we gotta do something about this.
Yeah, she's like, yep, see, no monarchy. I just got elected over and over and over and over and over by the most reliable constituency that, I'm going to be honest, does kind of resemble a sort of feudal fiefdom. But don't worry, technically votes were cast, and therefore I'm against kings.
Well, no, they want the fiefdom. They want the feudalism, because the feudalism ensures that they'll continue to have the votes. That's the whole apparatus that they're building, or they're trying to build, is that they create a lot of social systems that make a certain demographic reliant on them, and then they hold those social systems hostage because the other party doesn't want them, because they're just there in order to secure those votes. They're basically trying to create voting feudalism. That's the whole goal. No, it's... Now, the more I think about it, it's like, yeah, that's basically what was happening.
You also have the sort of, like I said, the radical grandchildren fringe of Antifa weirdos who had things like Charlie Kirk had it coming.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, this is great. Enemy feminisms. Feminism for the 99%. Unbuild walls. Palestine and Marxism. Man. Politicians don't die like they used to. There's another... These girls, bro. Remember what I told y'all? All swamp hags. Every single one of them.
Assassination's great again. And all these other sort of like, we are happy that people have murdered Republicans.
Also, what I find to be really funny about this is any woman that's like baiting around for a political revolution doesn't realize what happens to women in political revolutions. Every single one in the history of revolutions. Every single... There aren't any exceptions here. They think it won't happen. Yeah, it's amazing that women would ever even consider wanting this. It's unbelievable. I guess they're just stupid. I mean, you can't blame somebody for being stupid, right? What do you mean? Oh, I mean, I guess I can just say it. I mean, I don't know why, like, I'm talking around it. Inside of every single political revolution, inside of the entire of history, even inside of women, like, for example, the way that women were treated after the different countries in Europe reoccupied their countries after the Nazis. They were raped, murdered, beaten. They were forced into abortions. They were basically treated as slaves. Women inside of any sort of militaristic political revolution immediately become effectively currency. That's what's going to happen instantly. And it's happened inside of every single revolution. And it happened, like, why do you think that there are those statues in South Korea of those comfort women? Like, it's always been like this. And if there's a legitimate conflict, that's what's going to happen to them. Because it's happened every single time. So it's a joke. It's a joke. It's insane. And that's why I think is so ridiculous for these girls to be pushing for this, because it's like you have just no, like, what do you think's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? It's crazy. What are you talking about? Eastern Europe or something? You mean those statues aren't there for foreigners to get lap dances for? No, they're not. These people don't know what they want. Yeah, exactly. And no self-preservation instinct. Yeah, they don't understand at all. Comfort women were raped by the Japanese, not through, though not Koreans. I know that. That's the reason why the statues were in Korea. That I know that. Learn to listen. The statues are in Korea. The atrocities happened from Japan primarily, and there's a whole lot of, like, I don't even like the inner Asian like fucking conflicts and racism between like China, Japan, Korea, fucking Vietnam. I know like 3% of this, okay? Like, that's on the other side of the fucking world, completely different race of people. I don't fucking know. I know it's not good. I'll tell you that. Some of them really don't get along. It's like some shit that happened 600 years ago. Oh, remember 1,200 years ago that one thing happened? Yeah, fuck you. It's how it is. Like, I don't know why, but that's how it is. So I just find it to be weird that you have all these women that are trying to advocate for a political revolution when, if a political revolution happened, it would be the most horrifying, terrible thing to have ever happened. And also, like, men get killed, right? It's not like women have it bad and men have it good. Men are out getting killed. Women are being raped. It's just, it's horrible. It's an apocalypse situation. It's awful. It's crazy that these people are advocating for something like that they have no idea of the consequence of it.
I mean, that's pro-democracy, bro. That's 100% democracy. Nothing screams democracy like shooting a presidential candidate on the campaign trail, does it? And the thing is about this being a boomer protest is that their grandchildren basically don't really agree with them on the nature of the American Constitution, American democracy. From a poll last year by the Cato Institute, when they looked at enthusiasm for the Constitution across demographic groups, obviously boomers, 65 plus and over, were 3/4 in favor of it, strongly favorable opinion. And then the Gen Xers at the 68.
I think the Constitution's wrong on tons of things. There's tons of amendments I don't agree with. Sure, yeah. Especially the way the Supreme Court interprets them. Absolutely. This is too broad of a question. Like what? Citizens United, cruel and unusual torture, not a fan of that. I think if we want to publicly execute people, I don't think that's a problem at all. Especially for really bad actors in order to set an example. You've got, let's see, beyond that, citizenship for anybody that is born here, regardless of the parent's citizenship status. Absolutely not. Like those are the three things that I would say immediately I am against. Yeah.
Younger Gen Xers at 53, but then the millennials, 30-44, only 41% had a strongly favourable opinion to the US Constitution. That's really weird, isn't it? That's a weird way of not replicating your own ideology from the boomers. Like, if you believe in this so strongly, why don't your grandchildren also believe in this? And the Zoomers themselves actually support writing a new constitution. Obviously,
there's nothing wrong with writing a new constitution. That's why you have amendments. The Constitution was written, made in order to have amendments and be a living document. Like, that's the whole reason why they reinterpret amendments all the time. Like, the entire idea that this is some sort of, like, stated thing. Like, for example, there are tons of things that, like, a random person can't have that are like military things that people can't have. So like there's limitations to the First Amendment, there's limitations to the Second Amendment, there's limitations almost to everything. And so like for guns, exactly, for voting, exactly. Like there's a million things that different things apply to. So in my opinion, I think this is like such bad polling because like it's such a individually based issue.
25% of boomers support that. 27% of the old Gen Xers. 40% of the young Gen Xers.
Yeah,
47% of the millennials. But 54%.
Somebody says, am I against anchor babies? Absolutely. I'd deport every single one of them.
4% of Zoomers are like, yeah, no, fuck the Constitution. Let's just write a new one that reflects our diversity as a people. Boomers, you are out. It's over for you. Your beloved democracy that you'll seek to protect so much, the Constitution, the Republic, all of those things that you're so concerned about, it genuinely is, as Rousseau put, the real Constitution is inscribed on the hearts of men. And when your generation goes, the younger generations will not have the fondness for the 20th century America that you had during your youth, and that will all disappear. Things will change.
Yep, absolutely.
Because, I mean, obviously the boomers, again, 2/3 of them, think that the American...
Thought you were against denaturalizing anchor babies? I mean, I'm talking about like future ones, right? I mean, obviously, like if somebody was born in the U.S. like 20 years ago, they've been a U.S. citizen for like 20 years because of the 14th Amendment. Like applying rules retroactively to people generally is a bad idea. But like from my perspective, I would from now on, no, never. New people, yeah, exactly.
Founding fathers were heroes. 34% were like heroes and villains, but 1% said villains. Same sort of numbers with the older Gen X.
Yes.
The younger Gen X, about 50-50 on heroes or both heroes and villains. And then the millennials are like, no, more heroes and villains than heroes, with 5% just on villains. And the same sort of thing with the Gen Z. So it's not like the founding fathers and the love of them is even something that they have really taken heart. They're like, well...
And this is also something that's important to keep in mind, is that whenever these people try to weaponize, figures like Thomas Jefferson or George Washington, they're not doing it from a place of respect to Thomas Jefferson or George Washington. They don't care about Thomas Jefferson or George Washington. But what they do care about is weaponizing your respect for them in order to achieve their goals. Would you support removing non-citizens from the census? Completely. If you're not a citizen, you shouldn't be counted in the census. And I don't think that, and the reason why is that the census is used in order to determine a certain amount of government representation. So if you allow non-citizens to be part of the census, you create an incentive in order to bring more non-citizens into an area and then increase the voting power of that area. And so you've now created a reward structure around adding the more non-citizens you add, the more power you have over American policy. Does that sound like a good idea? That's retarded. Of course you shouldn't do that.
Back. And you'll remember that the radical fringe of that 5% who think they're just straight up villains will go out and tear down the statues of them, as they did during the 20...
Never listen to these people about, oh, I care about the Constitution. No, you don't. You care about it when you agree with it.
20 Black Lives Matter riots. It's not like these people haven't been radicalized. And this really is a product.
And also another thing is them, trying to make an argument to authority to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's just 9 fucking geriatrics. I like, Clarence Thomas is an OG, and I think some of the other ones are great too. But at the end of the day, it's 9 fucking geriatrics. They also decided to, these are people decided to do Citizens United, right? Like, you shouldn't look at them as some sort of divine authority. They're just 9 people that made the decision. And also, they're completely partial. They're absolutely partial. And if they weren't partial, then all of those people that are saying that the Supreme Court's impartial wouldn't have been malding because Trump got to appoint 3 justices. It's bullshit.
The sort of boomer liberalism. If you allow it to just keep going and going and going, where it's trying to encompass all of mankind, and it sees all of its own wrongs as primarily the problem rather than things that are outside of its remit, then... well, you get to that point, don't you? And finally, you may have seen this amazing post going around. I posted it myself. A huge thank you to all the No Kings protesters yesterday. I was very concerned a king was trying to take my place, but thanks to your tireless efforts, I am still your president. Great job all.
Man.
Unfortunately, that's fake. Like I said, I posted it as well, and I'll take it down after this video.
Sad.
I didn't realize.
He should have said it, though.
Sounded so
That's
much
really
like
funny.
something Donald Trump would say. And frankly, he should have said that. He should have tweeted that out. He should have been like, I'd hate to have a king because I'm the guy in charge, aren't I? I don't want to be replaced. That's a fake. But it does probably accurately represent what Trump actually thinks, which is another thing about the sort of fake
ridiculous.
posts of Trump that go around. Yeah, okay, he might not have said it. But if he was inclined to think about the subject, he probably would say that, wouldn't he?
Probably would have said
if you were to ask him, that probably would be his opinion on it. Anyway, it's nice that the boomers got to have a day out of the nursing home, isn't it?
Yeah, anyway, that's what I think the problem is it's the last gasp of relevancy from the boomers in order for them to fuck up society just a little bit longer, in order for them to enable their delusional, self-serving ideals while they live under more wealth and they have experienced more benefits than anybody else in society, and they've made all this money, and somehow they're still talking down to the young people. It's so fucking obnoxious. They're in their death throes. They are. They're in their death throes, and this is a problem that's going to solve itself. And there are a lot of based boomers out there, too. You can't forget that. It's not like they're all bad. They are not all bad. But some of the ones that are out there doing this are just displaced hippies, bored swamp hags, and old retards that should be sitting in a nursing home playing bingo rather than going out and fucking up society. You don't have any stake in it anymore. You're going to be dead soon. Just give it a fucking rest and leave everybody else alone. You know, that's the way I feel about it. That's what I think. So, yes, it's war from the attack on the outside. Fascism is violence from above. Revolution is violence from below. I mean, I think it's just retards, right? I mean, there's not really a lot of violence in a lot of cases. It's just retards. I'll give you guys the video link. You guys give it a like. I like Stargon's videos a lot. I agree with this one very strongly. But, yeah, I definitely 100% do.